Alright guys, quiet on the set. Can I please have quiet on the set? Why am I so red? Jim? Leslie? I'm looking in the monitor. I look like I just went tanning with Donald Trump. Do the lights have to be that Can we dim them just a little bit? Because I feel it. You know what? Doesn't even matter. There's a lot to talk about on this Raw. Little time to talk about it. Monday Night Raw, August 13th, 2018. Review reaction. Action! Monday Night Raw, Monday, August 13th, 2018, man. That was booked. It was played out, and you're damn right we're going to talk about it because that had the makings to be a tragic show. Just like every go-home show to a pay-per-view lately in WWE is pretty fucking tragic. Horrible to watch. But last night, it was not horrible to watch. It was not tragic. Sure, it was not epic, but it was not tragic. I'm not going to sit here and shit on a show that had Ronda Rousey beating up several dudes all at once. That's badass. I'm not going to shit on a show that had a segment like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And an actual story was told. Time and creativity was put into that. From the promo, to the macing, to the actual beatdown. And I'm absolutely not going to shit on a show that has the return of Dean Ambrose in shock fashion, because we thought he was imminent. We knew he was imminent, and he was coming back any day, but we thought that day was SummerSlam. I don't think a lot of us thought he would just show up 6 nights before SummerSlam like he did. I'm going to get to that in just a couple of minutes. But before, and it had its fillers, it had its bullshit. This show had its negative points, trust me, many of them. And it's a review show, so we're going to get to those negatives the only way that we know how. We probably will get amplified on it. But before I get to the negatives of the show, let's start off on a positive note. All the shit that I just talked about, let's give it a little bit of time. Why don't we? Let's start with Ronda Rousey, right? We're going to start with all the positives. Right from the beginning of the show, Ronda Rousey comes out and she gives a heartfelt message to not just the fans, but especially to Natty Neidhart, and it's about her father, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and giving thoughts and prayers to Natty and to her family for the passing of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And Ronda Rousey was giving this ultimate responsibility to go out there and deliver a multi-minute promo, heartfelt, about something so important. You guys don't know how hard that is, even for a seasoned veteran to go out there and speak from the heart like that, not fuck up, not botch your promo, and you're under the microscope. People are waiting to count your botches, not just in the ring, but in your promos, in your interviews. They're just waiting. You have people like that are just waiting to call you out on a fuck up or a mistake. And Ronda Rousey was given this ultimate responsibility, this young in her career, her wrestling career. And she went out there and she nailed it, man. Absolutely nailed it. Then she introduces, which was great to see. You don't want to see Natalya out of action for those reasons. Her father passing, especially Jim the Anvil Neidhart. You don't want to see Natty out of this match for that reason. But it was damn good to see Ember Moon actually step up to the plate. And Ronda Rousey introduces Ember Moon. And it's going to be Ember Moon taking on Alexa Bliss. Because originally it was Alexa Bliss versus Natalya. But obviously Natalya couldn't show up. Or wasn't going to under those circumstances. Although Natalya is such a professional and such a badass that if there was any way she could have showed up, she probably would have. So you have Ember Moon and Alexa Bliss, and before this match even starts, Alexa Bliss has all this fucking security around her, right? Ronda Rousey, you can't get to me, but I'm going to talk a lot of shit to you. And before the match, that's what Alexa Bliss did. Alexa Bliss, I told you guys from day one, is gold on the mic. That is why she's got the strap around her shoulder and around her waist. It's not for her wrestling ability. It's because Vince and WWE knows that is a heel that can lead the company. That is a heel that can put it on a face like Ronda Rousey. That face that WWE wants to finally have that captivating big moment and win the championship from the dastardly heel. Well, that dastardly heel is Alexa Bliss because of her mouthpiece. She is amazing on the mic to antagonize, to instigate, to just make you want to hate her. And she'll egg you on, and she'll poke at you, right? She'll keep poking. That's Alexa Bliss, and she did it again last night to Ronda Rousey, and even taking some jabs at the crowd. Loved it. That's what Alexa Bliss does best. Know your strengths and play to them. Know your weaknesses and try to hide them. That's what WWE does. How many times do you guys see Alexa Bliss wrestling on Monday Night Raw? Not a lot, right? In the past calendar year, not a lot compared to other females like the Sashas or the Baileys or the Mickie Jameses. Not a lot. And the reason for that is because they know that's not where her strengths lie. Her strengths, I can't say that word today, I'm coming out like a fucking idiot. Her strengths lie elsewhere, and that is her promos. Her weakness is the wrestling when compared to other wrestlers, like a Charlotte Flair or a Sasha or an Ember Moon, as we saw last night. But Alexa did hold her own, and I'm proud of her for that. But again, it's her mic work. It's her antagonizing approach. It's her heel ability to really draw you in and want to see her get beat. That is why she's got the championship, and that is why she's not being beat for that championship anytime in recent memory. And maybe not even at SummerSlam. Everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion, like she said last night. No, WWE might really love her work, might really want to play up the fact that Ronda Rousey can't get the championship for some reason, and you might see Alexa Bliss keep that championship after Sunday. But can't say enough positive things about Alexa Bliss last night before the match even started. Also, before the match between Ember Moon and Alexa Bliss started, you had Alexa Bliss in the ring with her security knock Ember Moon into Ronda Rousey. Rousey was about to jump off the apron onto the outside. Ember Moon was in the ring. Alexa nails Ember Moon. Ember Moon drives into Ronda. Ronda falls down on the outside mat. Ronda's pissed off at this point. She looks into the ring, and Alexa Bliss is doing the what are you gonna cry? With her hands, she's antagonizing some more. She's instigating. She's poking at her. And Ronda Rousey had enough. Ronda Rousey gets in the ring, but the security steps in front of Alexa Bliss. So now it's Ronda Rousey, a wall of security, and Alexa. And Ronda Rousey is like, fine with me. You got about 3 seconds to get out of my way, or I'm going to remove you out of my way. And that's what happened. Ronda Rousey being booked the way Ronda Rousey should be booked. I said in yesterday's video, the preview video, the one thing you should not be doing with Ronda Rousey is making her a cheerleader. Putting her in the corner of Natalya last week. About to put her in the corner of Natalya again this week. But Natalya obviously was not there, so Ember Moon takes her place. But you're still having Ronda in the corner of Ember. She's basically a cheerleader for Ember Moon this week. She's a cheerleader for Natalya last week. Ronda Rousey should not be in the cheerleader role. I said you have to book her like a badass. So WWE did that last night. Even though they already announced she was going to be in that cheerleader role, they made her a legit badass beforehand. And she looked at that security, and one by one, she started taking those motherfucking men out. One by one, by one, by one, until it got to the fifth one? And this guy looks at Ronda, and he's like, he looked like he just saw he was like a deer in headlights, like he just saw a ghost. And he's like, fuck that shit, I'm out. He runs away, tail between his legs, man. It was an awesome, funny, comedical point in that segment. And I loved it, man, because Ronda Rousey, it shows the legit fear that even men have when they're facing that face, that mug. And she's mean mugging you. You're fucking hightailing. So it was great, man. It was absolutely, that's how Ronda Rousey needs to be booked. Who are these nobodies? These jobber security men. They get taken out one by one. Anyone who has a problem with that, oh, it's not realistic. Yeah, it's pretty fucking realistic that these 4 to 5 made-for-hire security guards probably came right from their job at Home Depot or right from the fucking local 7-Eleven, and here they are fucking their nighttime job as a security guard. And this motherfucker that trains night in and night out to be a professional ass whooper took them out in less than a minute. It's pretty fucking realistic. That's actually so realistic that that's the way she should be booked. And it's so good to see WWE not really dropping the ball on Rousey. They've made a few mistakes and blunders here and there. I don't like her in the cheerleader role, but the way they're booking her as a badass, I love that shit, man. Taking out 4 men in a running crybaby, all in a minute, right before the match even starts. Absolutely love that. And then the match happened with Alexa and Ember Moon. And even though Ember Moon is leaps and bounds a better wrestler than Alexa held her own last night. Usually in these type of mismatch scenarios, the better wrestler has to dumb themselves down to the level of the lower class wrestler. In this case, they didn't have to do that. I really feel that even though it was a Monday Night Raw, she doesn't get a lot of Raws. Alexa Bliss came and brought it last night. Not an imaginary Dave Meltzer star match, right? No 4, 5, 6 stars. They ain't gonna get 8, 9, 10 amplified elbows. But for an Ember-Alexa match, they don't really work together all that often. It was pretty fucking decent, actually. Not gonna go ahead and say good, but decent. Alexa Bliss didn't make Ember Moon dumb herself down too much. Alexa Bliss was there for all her spots. She took the Eclipse. Badass. That's always the thing you look for. Please get yourself in position, sell that shit, because Ember Moon's Eclipse, a lot of that is complemented by how it's received. Retrieved? Then again, you do have to retrieve her, right? She's flying in the air. You better fucking get under her and retrieve that motherfucker. And Alexa Bliss did not botch that. That's the big thing that I was looking for. But also just during the match, everything Ember Moon wanted to accomplish, Alexa Bliss was right there to take it. When Alexa Bliss needed to be that dastardly heel, she was that dastardly heel, and of course Ember Moon was selling it. So it was a decent first match. I did feel it went a couple minutes too long, a commercial break too long. But all things considered, decent match for Alexa and Ember. And at the end of this thing, what I like about that match too, first of all, is that there was a little bit of friction between Alicia Fox, who was on the outside, and Ronda Rousey on the outside. They didn't just wait to the end of the match to bring in Ronda and Alicia. There was some friction during the match that made the match a little bit more fun as well. And then, of course, at the end of the match, that's when all hell breaks loose. You do have the Eclipse. Ember Moon was about to pin Alexa Bliss, but it was Alicia Fox. I think the only botch in this match was really Alicia Fox. She really should have broken up the victory from the Eclipse a little more, because Alicia Fox was supposed to hit Ember Moon drastically in the back, cause the breakup in the count, and the Eclipse does not cause Ember Moon to defeat Alexa Bliss. But instead, Alicia Fox just kind of like pushed one of her feet, or one of her legs, and then she gets in the ring. The referee's confused, Ember Moon's confused, and for some reason the ref never counted 3. It looked really weird to me. So that was definitely another Alicia Fox, but Alicia Fox Alicia Fox is not in the WWE to be the best wrestler. We know that, man. It's a little bit of a sideshow, but we love her crazy character. But Alicia Fox causes the breakup, I guess you could say, even though she didn't. But that caused Ronda Rousey to get in. Ronda Rousey takes out Alicia Fox. I mean, Ronda Rousey was flipping around Alicia Fox every which way, 2 ways to Sunday. Alicia Fox, I thought for 1 second Alicia Fox actually broke her arm. I mean, Ronda Rousey was flinging this motherfucker, but that's how realistic she is. Guess what, guys? Alicia Fox is fine. No arm injury. Ronda Rousey just makes it look that realistic because she's that natural at pro wrestling. She's really fucking good. Everyone going, she's unsafe, she's stiff, she's slop. No, she's just badass. She's throwing people around. Completely safe. But it looks badass, doesn't it? It looks like she's snapping that arm. That's what I love. She even went after Alexa Bliss last night. But when it was all said and done, Alexa and Alicia Fox hightailed it up the rampway. And Ronda Rousey was looking from inside the ring. Mean mugging. Sunday, your ass is mine. That title is mine. And you hear Alexa Bliss screaming out as her ass is up the rampway. She's trying to scoot up the rampway. And she's yelling, "Where's my title? Where's my title?" She just wants to fucking cling onto that for 6 more nights. But does she drop it at SummerSlam? Or does Vince McMahon and WWE really love the heel side of her and that title around her, the way she antagonizes, and do they want to build up Ronda more so they don't have anyone going, Ronda didn't deserve the title victory? So they want to build her up even more and make her look like she can't even get the championship. There's chances here, there's ways, unfortunately, that Alexa walks out of Brooklyn Sunday night with that strap. But that was all in the first segment of Monday Night Raw, right? There was more good for Raw too. That was the first segment. The middle segment, you had a Paul Heyman-Roman Reigns face-to-face encounter that a beast would end up showing up, right? I'm talking Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and eventually Brock Lesnar. And this segment was absolutely badass. And I say badass because time was giving to this segment. Time was actually giving, finally, to this feud. And I put that up in the quotes because it hasn't seemed like a feud at all. Every time they meet, it just feels really forced to me. This time is no exception. This feels like a forced match. But last night, I got a feel, finally, between these two, like it was an actual story. Like there's something to build upon. Like there's something to be intrigued about. Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns face-to-face in that promo last night in the ring, and they nailed it, man. Just like I'm giving Alexa, this is a weird video, right, guys? Usually, everyone thinks I'm putting down Alexa Bliss, and I'm not an Alexa Bliss fan, and I always put her down. I don't put her in a good light, and I never say positive things about Alexa Bliss. And Roman Reigns, I'm rarely saying positive things about Roman. I'm always talking about the negatives. Just like Alexa, Roman Reigns went out there and he hit his marks, his bullet points. He hit a flawless promo. And he actually held his own in there with one of the best promo guys in the business, Paul E. Dangerously, as I know him. You know him as Paul Heyman. And I'm telling you right now, Paul Heyman gave that Paul Heyman-esque promo that he is selling a pay-per-view without even really mentioning the pay-per-view too much. That's Paul Heyman. He could do both. He could say the name of the pay-per-view 100 times and still sell you on it, even you think you'd be annoyed. No, you're gonna buy it, because Paul Heyman fucking is that good. And then there's the Paul Heyman-esque promo that he doesn't even have to mention the fucking pay-per-view. Or at least not more than a couple of times. But he's going to sell you on the fucking story he's telling. And that's what he did last night. And Roman played so well with him. Played well off of him. Paul Heyman guided him a little bit through that as well. But it went off fucking, I thought, perfect. There was times in this promo where you were feeling the emotion. And that was cool. You really felt when Paul Heyman was saying, hey, work with me. This could work in the future. Think about this. And Roman Reigns looked him dead in the eye and said, Paul, I don't need your help. I know how to beat Brock Lesnar. In fact, technically I beat him in Saudi Arabia. If it wasn't for me putting him through the cage, I would have won. If it wasn't for you getting involved, I would have won. And Paul Heyman's like, guilty as charged. That was the past. I don't like to live in the past. I want to live in the future. And I see the future as me and you. And then he tells Roman, stand right next to me. Tell me how this sounds. And he does the whole reigning, defending, Universal Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns. The crowd's kind of mixed, the cheers, the boos, but it made you think. It gave you that little fuzzy feeling in the middle, right? In the tum-tum region, baby, where you're like, that would have been cool. A little Paul Roman stable, not just them two, but if there was a stable, that would have been cool. You got the fucking AOP, you got Roman, you add in maybe fucking like somebody, I don't know, bring in fucking an NXT guy. Tommaso Ciampa would be fucking good, a little fucking assassin, and you bring in, obviously Roman Reigns as the head. Dude, you got a clique, you got a stable. Like the old school WCW days with Paul E. Dangerously and Paul E.'s Alliance. It made me think of that shit, man. It was really cool. But then again, Roman said, I don't need you, Paul. And Roman looks in Paulie's face and he says, I love this line. He says, my father taught me how to survive around sharks in this business. And he taught me that the most dangerous shark is the one that's drowning. And you, Paul, you're drowning. And I thought that was perfect because it's true. It's real life imitating art and art imitating real life. And you guys know I love that because in real life, Brock Lesnar leaves over to UFC. Where does that really leave Paul Heyman? He's probably gone too. I mean, they would hire him in another role, but does Paulie really want to be in another role? This is pretty much it for him. Every move that Brock makes is a direct is in direct effect and consequences to Paul E. And that's a big cloud to hang over your head. Always hoping that Brock sticks around or Brock makes his dates because I have to show up. And now Brock's leaving, right? We all believe. So now Paul E is desperate to find somebody else to cling on to ride the coattails into the future. So Roman calls him out and says, "You're the most dangerous shark because you're drowning, Paul, and I'm not going to jump on your drowning ship." And Paul E's like, "You're right. I am drowning. I have nothing left. I have nothing to lose. But just remember, you mentioned your father." And he said, "I used to ride up and down the roads with your father and your family members. And your father told me," and he says something in Samoan to Roman Reigns that really caught Roman Reigns off guard. It made Roman Reigns kind of backpedal for a second. So whatever Paul E said, and I believe it's out on the internet now, so I'll find out. But this is really early on a Tuesday morning. But he said something in Samoan to Roman that really caught him off guard. And then he whips up something out from inside of his suit jacket. Paul Heyman says, "Just read this. I don't want a decision tonight. Make your decision this Sunday at SummerSlam." And he hands him this piece of paper. And he says, "Just do me one favor. Read it and give me a decision Sunday." Right there, the storyline's cool. I would have been cool if Brock Lesnar wasn't in the arena. That's a cool story for me. Now there's a little intrigue for Sunday. What is in that paper, and what decision does Roman Reigns have to make Sunday? That's fun. That's intrigue. That's a bit of a story. That's all I ever ask for in a feud, in segments that are supposed to be building to a story. Give me the actual story. What's the story? Too many times, Vince McMahon puts everybody in the ring together that's supposed to fight at the pay-per-view, whether it's single versus single or tag team. He puts them all together, and every week we just see them fighting each other in some way or form. But there's no story really being told. One week, one person got to win. The next week, the other person got to win. The next week, the other person got to win. Now we're just going to have a final match at the pay-per-view. That's not a story. Paul Heyman just slipping Roman this piece of paper saying, "Just read it, please, and make your decision Sunday." That builds intrigue. And as Roman takes the paper and looks down, I blinked for 1 second. When I re-up my fucking blink, when my eyes opened again, Roman Reigns was being maced. I mean, that all happened in a blink of an eye, man. It was beautifully done by Paul Heyman and Roman. Caught me totally off guard. And again, watching pro wrestling for over 30 years, I can be a jaded fan at times. I know what's going to happen here. I know where it's ending. No, Paul Heyman whips out this can, and I don't know if it's mace, it could be Lysol, obviously it's fucking water. But what was it supposed to be? Mace, Lysol, fucking Febreze, who the fuck knows? But he's spraying it in the eyes of Roman, and it's sold perfectly, not just by Roman who's selling the actual macing, but Paul Heyman really looks like a guy who's trying to put down this monster that he sees, which is Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman is relentless. He's spraying anywhere. Half the time it's not even in his eyes. He already got the initial eye spray. So now Paul Heyman is getting in his hair, his chest, anywhere. Paul Heyman is like a guy who's fighting for his life. And it works storyline-wise because Paul Heyman isn't usually the one in fights. He usually runs his mouth and then he has his beast back it up. So here Paul Heyman is taking a real risk. He's getting ballsy. If this macing doesn't work, he gets beat up. So even though he got the macing done correctly, he kept spraying for another 40 seconds. Beautifully done. I thought to myself, he wasn't advertised, but he was expected to show up. But that doesn't mean a lot for Brock. But I kept thinking, this would be an awesome time for Brock Lesnar to show up, right when Roman Reigns is fucking maced. But it didn't happen. Paul Heyman got out of the ring, and he started to head up the ramp. And I'm like, I'm cool with this. This is cool. We didn't get the make your decision Sunday from the piece of paper because Paul Heyman immediately maced Roman. But now we have Roman gonna be extra pissed off now. Now there's more fuel to the fire for Sunday. And I needed that fuel. I didn't feel like this fire was gonna be pretty dominant Sunday. Now with the extra fuel, I was good with that. But then, as Paul Lee goes up the rampway, you have Brock Lesnar's music strike. And I know now that Roman's bad night is only going to get worse. Here comes Lesnar. Lesnar looking a lot more leaner, by the way, guys. That proves he's showing up to UFC. That proves he's off any steroids. He's off any fucking supplements that are banned through testing. Because it's night and day. I always say that. Look at Brock Lesnar when he's out of UFC. He's a bulky motherfucker. That's steroids. That's supplements he shouldn't be taking. Now look at Brock. And now the argument for MMA people are like, that's that's what you have to be in. That's the body weight and that's the leanness and you have to cut down your weight. Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. But if you look at the night and day difference and how many pounds this motherfucker has taken off in a short amount of time, because this wasn't just this week. Was it last week or the week before when he showed up? Was that Miami? Watch how lean he was already from the interview that was done, 3 weeks ago? Was it TMZ? Somebody caught up with Brock. Too much, too fast. That's a guy who is off his cycle or off a shitload of supplements he shouldn't have been taking. That's not just creatine and water building up in your fucking muscles. This guy is a different type of lean. That was a different Brock Lesnar than we're used to. That shows you he's going over to UFC and he's off all the bullshit that he was on. So Brock Lesnar comes in. Even Brock Lesnar off of all the bullshit is still a fucking monster and a beast. So Brock Lesnar shows up after the macing and he totally annihilates Roman Reigns. He gets out of the ring, his music's fucking playing, he heads up the rampway, but he stops. And this is where we know Roman Reigns' bad night that got worse is about to get even more worse, because Brock's not done. Brock turns around, he heads back into the ring. He gets Roman up in a devastating F5 that drops Roman Reigns on his skull, bouncing off the canvas. Roman Reigns is down and out. His eyes are still fucked up, but that's the least of his worries probably at the moment. Brock finally leaves the ring to a grinning, smiling, ultra-ecstatic Paul Heyman. It looks like everything's good in their camp. It looks like this was all just a ploy. This was all just a plan to rope in Roman Reigns and fuck him up last night. And that's exactly what happened. Again, time was given to this story. From the promo and the time that was given to that promo for the back and forth, to the actual macing job and getting Paul Heyman involved in that degree, that level, and then Brock showing up at the very end. That was a nice surprise, a good twist, and a badass finish to that segment. Backstage, a segment or two later, you had Roman Reigns in the trainer's room. He was flat on his back, a bunch of doctors trying to wash out his eyes. So he was fucked up. And now we have Sunday. So we are all, whether you wanted to see that match Sunday or just didn't want to see that match at all, we all can admit there's a little bit more intrigue at least now. The fire had a little bit more fuel to it. We will remember that segment come Sunday. And that's always a positive thing. When you build a story for what is supposed to be a story that is building, good things will always happen. I preach that all the time on this channel. The matches I can care less about are the matches that don't have a good story to them. They call it a feud, but it's not. It's just the same guys tussling in the ring every week. Where's the real story? Finally, last night, Brock and Roman delivered it, and that was a big, big kudos to Paul Heyman, man. Obviously, Paul Heyman is always in the middle of something great, right? And he was again last night. But everybody deserves the utmost credit last night. Brock, Roman, and Paul Heyman all played their part perfectly in that segment. That wasn't even the end of the positive shit last night. The beginning with Ronda Rousey, the middle with Roman, Paul, and Brock, and then the very end of the show with the return of Dean fucking Ambrose. Now, Dean Ambrose, we knew he was imminent. We knew he was coming probably at SummerSlam or the night after. I don't think a lot of us expected him to show up 6 nights before SummerSlam. I told you guys in yesterday's preview video how you can't have Ronda just be a cheerleader. There has to be something more badass. And they had Ronda beat up a bunch of fucking dudes before the match. That's badass. I told you guys how you can't just have Brock show up and have a little spit spat with him and Roman. There has to be something more badass. The segment with Roman and Brock ended up being badass last night. I told you guys as well, with this contract signing, we've seen Dolph and Seth Rollins too many times. Just putting a table in between them and having them sign a contract and then beating each other up afterwards, that's not enough. You need something more badass. Last night we got that as well. I'm not tooting my own horn and pumping up the ego and saying WWE officials are watching the Amplified, man, even though I know they fucking are. But it was good to see everything I say cannot happen last night in yesterday's video. Everything that I said should not happen, cannot happen, needs to be more badass, ended up being more badass last night. So that was really good to see. And the Dean Ambrose thing really added that spice and that flavor to a dry feud for me. Because Dolph and Seth Rollins, I did not give a shit about this match. And you guys know why. Because I've seen it so many times. I've seen them one-on-one so many times. I've even seen a 30-minute Iron Man match between the two. How much more do you need to see after that? After 10 fucking pinfalls were declared after like 7 minutes. Something like that. Some bullshit. So I've seen them so many times one-on-one. I've seen them so many times in tag team matches. What more do I have to see between Seth and Dolph? And Dolph and Seth and Drew McIntyre in his corner. Who cares? What are you going to do to make me fucking interested? And last night, they got me fucking interested in this shit now. Now it goes from one of the matches I did not want to see at all to a match you kind of have to see for the outcome. And I'll explain in a minute. But first, Dean Ambrose's whole arrival started with Seth Rollins not being at the arena. I always tell you guys how I love stories being built throughout the show. So the storyline last night being built throughout the show was that Seth Rollins is nowhere to be found. He's having travel issues coming back from promotional marketing work over in China. So where is Seth Rollins? Is he even going to show up for the contract signing? So every other segment-ish, you would have Dolph and McIntyre show up to Kurt's office and ask, where is he? And they would have a little back and forth with Kurt. And I liked that. It built the intrigue. Is Seth going to show up? What do they have in store? So finally, at the end of the night, he doesn't show up. Dolph signs the contract, and he wants Kurt to announce it's a forfeit. But there's Seth Rollins' music. And here comes Seth Rollins. And I'm like, well, wait. All of this cool story, Seth is not showing up. He's stuck in he's having travel issues. All of this was just for Seth to come down to the ring last minute and just sign the contract. And what? They throw some punches at each other and Raw goes off the air? That's stupid. You turn something cool into stupid. But once Seth Rollins stopped at the top of the rampway, I kind of knew something was up. Something more special was going to happen. And Seth Rollins, this was done beautifully. Seth Rollins looks into the ring where Dolph and fucking McIntyre are, and he says, now I'm not going to lie, I actually was in the arena earlier. I've been here for a little while. But he says, it wasn't totally a lie. There was travel issues that kept me from coming out earlier. But they weren't my travel issues. And I thought that was beautiful because I was like, somebody's coming out. And could it be Dean Ambrose? He would make the only sense. Who you're going to bring out? Jason Jordan? No. It's got to be Dean, right? We think. The anticipation is at least there. We're thinking it in our heads now. But we don't want to get too excited. It's WWE we're talking about. You get your hopes up and they'll bring them right back down. But then he goes on to say, you got a Scottish Terminator in your corner. I feel like I should have a lunatic in mine. And that's when we all knew, man. It's going to be fucking Ambrose tonight. They ain't waiting to SummerSlam. They ain't waiting till the night after. Sure enough, there goes the music, man. Or whatever the fuck his music starts off, fucking engine revving up. And there's fucking a jacked up, BC Amplified-esque Dean Ambrose, man. If he was a good-looking chap, he would be BC Amplified. He came off with the cutoff. He got the delts busting out. He was hitting those BC Amplified delt drills. He was in the gym, man, for a while. It looks like he was hitting those fucking weights, hitting those gyms in whatever towns he was in. Maybe he was just sitting at home at his home gym. But Dean Ambrose wasn't just sitting on his ass. He came back like a heel. He came back like a heel would come back. And let me tell you, this guy had the shaved head. he was jacked up. He had this vicious mean streak like we haven't seen before. But he came out to be in Seth Rollins' corner Sunday at SummerSlam. And they get into the ring and they clear that fucking ring. Goodbye, McIntyre. Goodbye, Dolph. Dean Ambrose gets back in there. Dirty deeds. Who was that? I think it was to Dolph, right? Either way, McIntyre and Dolph were fucking out of there. But we did see a dirty deeds. Devastating. Dean Ambrose on top of the world. We got the fist bump at the end. We fade to black and Raw goes off the air. Now that is a big Raw moment. That is a big superstar showing up and shocking everybody. That's the shit I miss on Raws. That's the shit I miss on pay-per-views too, so I would have been okay with it at SummerSlam. Either way, you need more surprise elements like that. That instantly made Raw fucking decent to me. And even borderline good, even with all the bullshit that I'm about to get to. But when you think about the Ronda Rousey and the Roman and the Paul Heyman and Brock, and then Dean Ambrose showing up, there's no way you could put this in the shit show Raw category. Dean Ambrose came, it was Veni Vidi Vici, right? He came, he saw, he conquered. And he fucked shit up. And he looked badass doing it. And it's really cool because his wife, Renee Young, was up at the commentary booth. So that was really cool to see. That you have Renee, wife, right? Not girlfriend. Is it girlfriend? Wife. I want to say wife. Forgive me, Dean, if it's not, man. But Renee is up at the commentary booth. And that's really fucking cool to see. She gets this big moment up at the commentary booth. And I haven't mentioned her, guys. She did decent last night. I felt that Vince McMahon tied her down a little bit. And what I mean by that is you could tell she was only saying like a line here and there or a few words, and then she would just shut up for a while. And then a line or a few words. It was almost like she had to know her role. You know, let Corey and Michael kind of guide you, that type of thing. But Renee doesn't need that type of guiding. Let her go out there and run her fucking gums. I can speak. It's getting later in the video. Let her run her mouth, flap her gums. There it is. And she's going to deliver gold. But she did decent last night for the restrictions that were put on her. And on a big night for Renee Young, you have a big night for Dean Ambrose as well. And Dean Ambrose looked fucking badass, man. And now he's going to be in the corner of Seth Rollins when Rollins takes on Dolph with McIntyre in Dolph's corner. Now, here's two scenarios, guys. This looks like Dean Ambrose has to turn heel because when you talk faces, he's going to be lost in the shuffle. You got Roman Reigns, which is Vince McMahon's boy. And then you have under that, you have the fans' favorites, which are Seth Rollins. You even got Finn Balor. But you got Braun Strowman, who should really be right up there with Roman. There's four guys right off the bat. We also know they want to bump up Bobby Lashley. There's 5 fucking faces, guys, that either one of them Vince could have as a champion. And now all of a sudden, Dean Ambrose is up there. With your heels, you don't really have a lot. Brock Lesnar is on his way fucking out. That's your top fucking heel, even though he doesn't show up often. But who do you have under that? Maybe Kevin Owens? Who else? Dolph, he's your IC champ. Maybe McIntyre could be? Dean Ambrose makes perfect sense. Now, I got 2 scenarios for you guys. Either he turns on Seth Rollins during this match and walks off, so he doesn't join Dolph and McIntyre. He's just in for business for himself. He doesn't like how Seth Rollins stole his spotlight when he got injured and rose to the top. Because that's what happened. Seth Rollins benefited from this injury in real life. Dean Ambrose got out, and all of a sudden Seth Rollins catapulted to the top. Before that, they were just in this weird tag team. Almost like a Bayley and Sasha. You don't want to see these 2 good superstars together because it doesn't make sense. You're not trying to relive 2/3 of the Shield. It's either the full Shield or nothing. Let them be on their own. We saw Dean and Seth Rollins as a tag team, and I didn't like that shit. But then Dean got injured, Seth Rollins rose to the top, even retrieved the IC championship. And now is going for it again. So Dean, the storyline is simple. I got injured, and you didn't even look back to help me out. You just went forward with your own self. You got selfish. Took care of yourself. You never stopped to take care of me and help me and ask if I was okay. That's a good story right there. And then he walks up the ramp after he turns on Seth. And that's an easy way out for Dolph to keep the championship and pin Seth Rollins. Or Dean Ambrose could turn on Seth Rollins and join Dolph and McIntyre. But either way, you have a turn during the match by Dean Ambrose on Seth. The other option is he helps Seth Rollins win the match, or Seth Rollins just wins the match on his own, becomes the new Intercontinental Champion, and then Dean Ambrose turns on Rollins. Still keep the storyline. You never checked up on me, but you made sure selfishly that you were okay and you were getting your title opportunities. Well, fuck that and fuck you. I love that. And then say, now I'm going to take the championship from you. So then that sets up an IC championship match between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. So either during the match, either during or after the match, I see Dean Ambrose turning on Seth Rollins. And I think that's why you would introduce Dean Ambrose 6 nights before. First and foremost, to make people give a fuck about SummerSlam and especially that match, because we didn't already, because we've already seen it so many times. So I think it was big about marketing. That is a good way to end your go-home show to SummerSlam, by have a returning superstar that's a pretty big name and say they're going to be at SummerSlam. So Vince McMahon just got those extra subscription buys by bringing out Dean Ambrose. That's A. But B, just as important, it sets up the turn at SummerSlam by bringing Dean Ambrose out 6 nights before. But I fucking loved it. He looked badass. He delivered badass. And I think SummerSlam now in that match, Dean Ambrose is going to bring even more badass to that match. And just like Brock and Roman, before last night, I could give 2 shits about it. Now, it's a little bit more intrigued. Same thing with Dolph versus Seth. I could give 2 shits about it before last night. Now, I'm a lot more intrigued with how this is going to play out. So we got to see. That was all the positive shit last night. Now, there was some negative. I'll try not to harp on it too much. I'll try not to get too amplified on it. But there was negatives. And those are going to be discussed right fucking now. Now, I know you need filler matches, right? Not everything can be this wild roller coaster ride, because the real special moments and special segments won't be as special. So you need fillers. But Bobby Roode tag teaming with Titus Worldwide against, who was it? The AOP and Mojo Rawley, I believe. And if you blinked, you would have missed it, because the match was literally like a minute and a half. What does that do for any of those At this point, just keep them off and have them in a backstage segment then. Then throwing them all in the ring for a minute and a half is so embarrassing. If I'm Titus Worldwide, or I'm Bobby Roode, or I'm fucking Mojo, or especially if I'm supposed to be this badass team like the AOP, and I'm brought out there for a minute and a half match, and the AOP just takes the fucking L with Mojo like that, man. Titus Worldwide and Glorious Bobby Roode pick up the victory. That is the filler matches that cannot happen. Because that is embarrassing and hurting the talent. Because that hurts the talent more. Even the winners. Even Bobby Roode and Titus Worldwide. But AOP and Mojo, man, look like absolute jokes and clowns. And that brings me to the triple threat tag team match with the Leaders of Worlds, the B team, and the Revival. And you have this triple threat match. The B team wins it. I'm okay with that. B team, because all of this B team championship title reign was just to have them lose last night. No, of course I'm okay with them winning. But now we set up a kickoff show match with the Revival versus the B team. So what happens? Do the Revival get the championship Sunday from the B team, and all of this B team was just to give it to the Revival? And then what? What do they expect from the Revival? The crowd, I say this time and time again, the main roster crowd is not like NXT. The Revival was not even over in NXT. They were having some good matches, but they were never over. So what makes you think the main roster crowd, the casual fans, are going to give a fuck about the Revival? Case in point, when they were introduced by JoJo last night, the Revival barely got a golf applause when they were introduced. The casual fan especially can give 2 shits about them. But even the main fan is not sold on them. Because unless you have a good personality and character behind you, you're not going anywhere. They have old-fashioned moves. I understand that. I'm an old-school guy. You guys know. I appreciate that. But that does not mean you're going to go over on this main roster crowd. That doesn't mean we should throw straps on you for 6 months. So what? The Revival wins the strap Sunday. They try for 3-4 months to get them over, which it's not going to work because the tag division is dead anyway. And then on top of that, the Revival have personalities of a walnut and a raisin. It's not going to work. So you say they got to come off the B team soon. That's fine. But here's a theory. Why not the AOP? SummerSlam would have been perfect if you built these monsters up like they should have been. The AOP was the obvious choice to take it off of either the Leader of Worlds or the B team. Why the fuck is the Revival in this match? Unless they're going to have the B team defeat the Revival, and then at their next pay-per-view, maybe Hell in a Cell is where they want the AOP to take it from the B team. If that's the case, I'm okay with it. But my problem would still be you're booking the AOP like clowns. They are being booked as absolute regular Joe Schmoes. And the AOP should not be booked as regular people, regular Joe Schmoes. They're fucking monsters. They should be getting the championships in Brooklyn this Sunday. Instead, the fucking Revival is in there. The Revival doesn't even get a reaction. Not even the golf clap. You're going to bore the fuck out of people. And if you give the Revival the championships, I'm just going to put my whole, not just my fucking head through a concrete. I'm just diving head first, and I'm going so much full velocity that my whole fucking entire body is going through the concrete wall. And if I don't get up, don't even bother helping me up. It means I just want to stay there and lay there. Maybe I'm fucking unconscious, which will be even fucking better. Because I don't want to fucking even think about the Revival holding the championships. You thought that the Leaders of Worlds title reign was boring or the B team's reign was boring? Oh, wait till the Revival have it. That's going to be riveting entertainment. So I don't know where they're going with that either. You want to stick with tag teams? They actually broke them up last night, had a one-on-one match, but the fucking Lame and Lousy Connection, you had Sasha Banks representing the Lame and Lousy Connection, taking on Ruby Riott of the Riott Squad. So again, we have more Sasha and Bayley versus the Riott Squad. This time it's just a one-on-one match. And just like every other Sasha Banks match, she lost with a simplistic roll-up. I tweeted about it last night. The easiest women to beat on the roster is Sasha Banks. Because all you have to do is roll her up. How sad is that? They book her like a joke. Every time she would pick up the championship, she would lose it like a week later most times. Honestly, she never held that title long. It was almost like they wanted to make her a joke champion. Now they have her every week. Sarah Logan even rolled her up for a simplistic roll-up pin. Sarah Logan. Last night, Ruby Riott just rolls her up. I think Liv Morgan, or was it Logan before too, a couple months ago, with the simplistic roll-up on Sasha as well. So these aren't the first 2 times that she got rolled up for a pin. I tweeted last night, Sasha Banks is like a hamster on a wheel. She just keeps going. She can't get out of it. She cannot get out of a simplistic roll-up? I would have had Ruby Riott actually put on her finisher and beat Sasha. That's more respectable than a simplistic roll-up. And Sasha, this legit boss at one point in her career, now she's just now she's a shell of what she once was. But she was once a legit boss, and she cannot kick out of a roll-up for her life. This wasn't the first or second time this has happened. She's always getting beat by a fucking simplistic roll-up. That is bullshit to the highest degree. Oh, man. What else last night? I'm sure there was other shit, but you know what? The positives outweigh the negatives for me, so that's awesome. I even liked Ricky Rogers, was it? What was that guy's name? He said, my idol is Elias. Elias comes onto the stage, starts to sing a jam for Ricky Rogers, but here comes Bobby Lashley. Supposedly, Bobby Lashley and this Elias superfan were supposed to have a match, but when Bobby Lashley turned his back, Rogers nailed Bobby Lashley in the back with this guitar. This guitar disintegrated on Bobby Lashley's back. Lashley looked back like, boy, you done fucked up. Takes this Ricky Rogers character and literally, I thought he was going to put him through the canvas. Like, through it. Fucked up Ricky Rogers, or whatever the fuck this guy's name is. Elias, even though he was the big fucking role model of Ricky Rogers, Elias wanted nothing to do with that. So this will, down the line, set up more Bobby Lashley, Elias feuding, I guess. But I actually enjoyed that segment. But yeah, the positives far outweigh the negatives, so that's a good thing. When Monday Night Raw has been absolutely tragic the past few weeks, some would say even years, it was good to see a show with the positives in those moments, those big moments, like Ronda Rousey taking on a bunch of dudes all at once. The moment between Paul and Roman, and then Brock coming out and beating the fuck out of Roman. The moment of Dean Ambrose returning, dirty deeds, looking all badass, jacked up. Those are the shit, that's the shit that I'm gonna remember from last night's Monday Night Raw, not the negative shit. So that's really good. So all in all, beggars can't be choosers. I'll take that go-home show. We'll go into SummerSlam with a little bit of momentum for Monday Night Raw, much more than it had before last night. And we know that SmackDown, 3 or 4 weeks in a row, I think it's 4 weeks in a row, SmackDown's been bringing it. So their whole road to SummerSlam has been badass. So I fully expect SummerSlam to bring it again on their go-home show tonight. And their matches I'm extremely looking forward to. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe at SummerSlam. Miz versus Daniel Bryan. And I still think that Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke, even though the story isn't epic, I know the wrestling is going to be fucking badass. If Jeff Hardy can go and he doesn't have nagging injuries that are really drastically bringing him down, this is going to be a good match with them as well. So yeah, we'll see what SmackDown brings, and we will be right back with you, same spot tomorrow, to talk SmackDown's review reaction. For now, kick Tuesday's ass, guys. Amplified size coffees. We're trying to coffees. Get fucking amplified and then fuck shit up. In that order. And then just repeat steps 1 through 3 throughout the day. Amplified man, cash in the fuck. For now. Check you later.